Hey, what's going on? Zero Day Jay here. Hope all is well. If you clicked on this video because you wanted to learn what the best indicator was to pass any prop firm challenge, I have to say you might be disappointed with what I have to say because honestly, there is no best indicator. Yeah, sure, there are definitely indicators out there that if you play them right and you execute them properly, you can pass prop firm challenges with them if that's all you play. Or you could do it in one trade. It is true. But if anyone tells you that this is the exact one that you have to use, I would just take it with a grain of salt because you know what? We all see the charts differently. Just because I like to play the orb, for example, the 15-minute orb, it doesn't mean that you're going to see it or you're going to trust it or you're going to execute the trade properly. It doesn't even mean that I'm going to execute the trade properly, right? Just because, and all of these indicators, they don't always work all of the time. They're not foolproof. They're not absolute. So you have to keep that in mind when you see videos of people promising you that this indicator or that indicator is going to be the one that's going to help you pass the prop firm challenge. Maybe it's true, but you know what? It might not be because if you talk to 20 different people or 30 different people, they're going to show you and you ask them what their setup is on their chart. What do they look for? 30, they're going to give you 30 different answers. All right. And you're not going to see it the same way I see it. I'm not going to see it the same way you see it. And it doesn't mean that either one of us are wrong or right. It just means that we're all not going to see it the same. So just because I have, look, like, all right, let's go through some indicators that I like. Okay. Now, as you can see, there's a bunch of shit on here. Okay. So let's knock them out one by one. All right. So let's get rid of the order. Let's get rid of the keyword. I talked about the orb. So let's look at the orb first. Let's get rid of all of this other shit. All right. I drew this line. This is some line I drew just based on looking at the chart. Okay. So here's the bottom orb. Here's the orb in general. The 15-minute orb is what it's called on TradingView. So what you're seeing here is basically what happens on the chart in the first 15 minutes when the market opens. The first 15-minute high and low, right? So let's go to the 15-minute orb, right? The opening range breakout. So here it is. Here's the bottom, and here's the top of the first 15 minutes of today's market. So what you'll notice, and it's the overnight, and it's like, the Asian session, and now the London session just started. You're going to see some price action around the bottom and top orb, right? So here we are. We broke out of the top orb. We bounced. Well, we rejected, came back to the top, bounced off of there, came back to the top orb, bounced again. Seems like the top orb was like the area for a while. You could have, I guess, scalped. I like to play directional stuff. I'm not a trend trader, so maybe that's another thing. Like maybe you like to trade the trend. I don't like. The trend is not my friend personally. Okay, so here we go again. We rejected when it came down to the bottom orb, and this is just today. And it's the overnight session, which sucks. If I go back to like Friday. Here's another good example. This was like the overnight Friday. We just stayed in the orb, and then we got to the top orb, and then we eventually rejected during the overnight, and then we bounced, hit the bottom orb, and rejected off the bottom orb, whipped to the top orb, rejected, came back down. So I'm trying to find some more examples. Let's see here. Here's another one. Here's a good one, right? We came into the bottom orb. It doesn't even matter what time this is. It doesn't even matter. Bottom orb, bounced off the bottom orb, and came all the way to the top orb and exploded. And then look, came back to the bottom orb and then bounced again, and then eventually fell through it, right? So it's not absolute. You're not always going to get a bounce off the bottom orb. You're not always going to get a rejection off the top orb. You're not always going to get a bounce when we pull back to the top orb. So do you see what I'm saying here? Nothing's perfect, right? So here's another one. Let's get rid of the orb, right? Let's hide the orb. Let me show you VWAP. This is another one I love to play. VWAP is the volume weighted average price, right? So what you're seeing here, the blue line is the VWAP, as a famous YouTuber likes to call it. And then this green line on the above it and below it are the upper and lower VWAP bands. They're basically one standard deviation from the VWAP, okay? So now let's see what happens here. So we fall out of it, come back into it, but then it bounces here off the lower VWAP band, right? Kind of hovers around VWAP and then bounces again. Look, and it can't get over the upper VWAP band. Then it rejects, then bounces like we wick. This is the 15-minute chart, so it's kind of hard. but you're going to see a lot of price action around there too. So like, can you play a VWAP rejection or bounce? Like, here's another good example right here. This is today. We rejected off the VWAP here and then dropped. Well, we dropped like 50 points, maybe more. I don't even know. 87 to 19, so 67 points. Then we bounced, kind of ping pong between the bottom, the lower VWAP band and VWAP, and then bounced and went to the top, the upper VWAP band. And that's basically, that's just another example. See, are you noticing a pattern here? They're good and they work until they don't work, right? So sure, can you pass a whatchamacallit? Can you pass a prop firm challenge playing one of these indicators? Absolutely. However, you might not see it. The other problem is, are you going to execute it? Can you execute it perfectly or even somewhat good? That's the other thing. Execution is the key. And that's the mental side of things, is being able to execute when the time is right, based on what you're seeing on the chart. So let's see. Let's look at another indicator, right? Let's look at another one that I like to play. As you notice, I like to play all this directional stuff. All right, so here's the pivot points. I love pivot points. What happens here is obviously bounces and rejections off the pivot point. I'm on the 15. So, I mean, a lot of times this happens when we're dumping. Like, we've dumped so much last week, after hitting new all-time highs every other hour. We were hitting new all-time highs for like a week straight, 3 to 4 days or whatever it was. And then the next week, we absolutely dumped. We gave all of that back and then some. So here, what you're noticing here, these aren't the greatest examples. What's today? Thursday. Oh, so Thursday, we didn't even quite come to here we go. So we dumped, right? Thursday we dump, and then we bounce off the pivot point here. We bounce 775 to 948. I mean, that's 73 points, right? Come back down to the pivot point again. We bounce again. We wicked down below it, and then we bounced 77 to almost 100 points, right? And then we just rode along this pivot point on Friday. That was Wednesday. And now we rode along this pivot point. This is all during the overnight. There was no activity. We dumped below it, and then we can't get back over it, right? And then we reject from this pivot point down through this one. You see what's going on here? So like, yeah, these are great until they're not. So, and also with the pivot point, it's going to be different on the hourly than it is on the 15-minute. So it's at a different spot. But look, we did reject off this pivot point here from, we wicked over it a little bit, 76 down to, over 100 points. And then we did it again. We came back up to it, rejected again from 76 to 56. I mean, from 976 to, that's like 300 points. 976 to 657, 300 plus points. Here it was 979 to 753. That was 200 plus points. So as you can see, yeah, the pivot point is powerful, but what happens sometimes with the pivot point, another example, you could get caught trying to play a pivot point, bounce a rejection, and it will blow through it, especially when there's news, right? You got freaking Jerome Powell talking, or freaking, PPI or any of this crazy shit. And if we get a hard enough dump, you'll have stuff like this happen. Well, let's look at this pivot point rejection. 916 all the way down. I mean, this is like 600 points, 500 something points. But if I drew the 15-minute, if I go back to the 5 and the 15, that particular, where the fuck is this? I hope you're getting the point, though. I hope at this point you're getting the point. Where are we even on the chart? Like, here we go. It was so bad. We dropped so hard that we blew through multiple pivot points. So let's say we blew through 1, 2, 3 pivot points before we even bounced or anything, right? Well, we still got, we bounced there, but like, that's what happens with that. So let's see another one. I think you're getting the point. Like, they're good until they're not good. All of these indicators. I don't care which one we talk about. Here's another one that I like to trade. It's the previous day high and low. Man, when this is good, when this is working, it's great. So it's like, watch, here's a perfect example. Oh, well, it didn't work here. See, it did not work here. There was some price action around it. As you can see, there is price action around it. So you could play it and maybe do some scalping. And then look, we came back up to it, rejected off of it. But then there was, I'm trying to find, there was a day that it bounced off of it perfectly. But here's one. We came down to it the previous day's low, I believe that was, and bounced 758 to 863. That's over 100 points, but we kept going, 758 to 975. So 200 plus points, came back down to it, got a little bit of a bounce from it, and then we couldn't hold it. And we kind of just hovered around it. And then this was what? This is Sunday. This is where we're at right now. We're nowhere near Friday's high or low. We're kind of in the middle, right? So, like I said, this is what I'm saying. And then if you look at all of this stuff, I also like this auto key line, auto trend line indicator. It basically draws trend lines for you. Let me get all my stuff back on here that I like to play, right? I do have moving average on here, but I don't always look at them. Pivots. Now you got a whole picture of what I'm looking for, all this different stuff I'm looking for. And just because this is what I like to look for doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So if you even wanted to remotely, try any of these, and I do like them and I think they're great, I wouldn't, if I were you, if you're going to try any of these indicators in particular, or anybody's indicators that, you think you might want to check out, one thing I would recommend you do is backtest, which means just look back on the chart to see how the price action is around these indicators, right? That's the first thing. And if you're going to try trading it for the first time, don't trade with your normal size. Trade smaller than you normally do, just in case, because you don't know. You're not really sure how it's going to behave until you start trading it, right? Even though you could backtest all you want. Like here, that was on the NQ. Now we're looking at gold. We kind of been ping-ponging back and forth between the top orb and the bottom orb so far tonight. It's the overnight. London just opened. And I'm just showing you. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Like there's always, you just never know what it's going to be. And then look, let's see, gold is crazy though. Why am I on the 5-minute here? Let me go to like the hourly. All right, the hourly. I mean, we got this crazy pop here. Look, we wicked way over the, this is when gold pumped and hit. I think this was when it was hitting all new all-time highs. But look, it kept rejecting off the pivot point. Hit the pivot point here, rejected again. Then it made new all-time highs here. I mean, it just goes to show you. I mean, like here we got a nice little rejection off the pivot point. Gold did not care all that much about the previous day's high. Perfect example of an indicator not doing what you think it's going to do. It's going to happen. They're great when they work, but if you don't have stops in place, you could get smoked thinking that they're going to work and then they don't. So this is all I'm saying. I hope I hope I didn't disappoint you when I told you that, when I didn't tell you the perfect indicator to pass any prop firm challenge. They all could be good, but at the same time, they all could be not be good because they don't always work. They're not absolute. They work a lot of the time, but as you can see here, I showed you examples of them working, and then I showed you examples of them not working. So you just got to be careful, and you still got to be able to read the charts, and you still got to have stops in place. You got to protect the bag, and it all comes down to execution and what you see on the chart. You might not like any of these indicators, right? But if you want to try them, give them a try. I like them. This is what I usually play more than anything else. I also play, certain moving averages on the 1-minute chart, but in the grand scheme of things, I mean, gold is crazy. This is crazy, but here we are right here. So anyway, in the grand scheme of things, all I'm saying is there is no best indicator. At the end of the day, there is no best indicator. All right. So if you like this type of video and you want to watch, keep up to date on my channel and how I'm doing with my prop firm journey, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I stream every single day, also during regular trading hours. During New York session, I hop on anytime between 2 and 3 p.m. Eastern, and I stream 2 and through close. Usually I get on around 2:30, and then I stream during the overnight, like I'm about to hop on the overnight right now. I get on anytime between 2:30 and 3:30 a.m. Eastern time, right around when London opens. And then I hang out for a couple hours. Not only do you get to watch me trade like a degenerate, but you get to hang out with awesome people in the chat, people that are really good at trading, and people that are, we're all in it together. So it's kind of like a place for us. It's nice to be able to talk to other people, even if it's virtually, right, through a live stream chat about what we're doing, because it's hard. to explain this to people who don't do it. They don't get it. Okay, so definitely try to hang out if you can. And if you want to check out any of the prop firm challenge, any of the prop firms that I work with, my links are in the description below with my coupon codes. I do have the best coupon code in the world. It's ZERODAYJAY. You'll soon learn, and it's got the highest pass rate, the highest payout rate according to the prop firm streets. I can't confirm it, but yeah, give them all a check. Give them all a try. We'll check them out. I work with Apex, Take Profit Trader, and Bulenox. Not Bulenox. My funded futures right now. I did try to work with Bulenox. I was having trouble because I couldn't use Rhythmic, but they're awesome in my book because they gave me a refund and they didn't have to. So because I got hit with a rebuild because I was trying to figure out how to use Rhythmic, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, long story short, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Just remember what I said about the indicators. There is no best indicator. That's the long story, the moral of the story in this video. All right, so enjoy the rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon. And if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Take it easy.